All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Crime Loser. I hope you're doing well. So, folks, today I'm going to tell you the wild story, and we're going to go over the small chunks that are available online of the interrogation of Ernie Shearer. I'll set the whole thing up, but just real quick so you know what you're getting yourselves into. Ernie Shearer was a professional poker player, played in the 2007 World Series of Poker. Pretty cool. They said 300 and something people entered that tournament, and Ernie Shearer took 33rd. It's pretty damn good. That's outlasting a lot of professional poker players. At that year, he had a young wife, a 3-year-old son. He's traveling around playing cards, sitting at the table with cool sunglasses on. It looked like everything was headed up for Ernie Shearer. Well, that same year, he beat his parents to death with a baseball bat, sliced them all up with a katana. 4 days after law enforcement found the gruesome scene, blood on the ceiling, the whole thing, they realized that they could rule pretty much everybody out that they had suspicions over, except the son, Ernie Shearer. So they said, Ernie, would you mind coming down to the station? We'd like to talk to you about what happened to your parents. We talked to your sister. We talked to so-and-so. We would just like to rule you out. And Ernie agreed. That's not a easy feat to go in there when you're guilty, sit in the hot seat, get grilled. What's interesting about the interrogation is he has probably the most rehearsed, arguably over-rehearsed story I've ever heard. The story isn't bad, but the rehearsal of it, he's also a little bit of a lizard. At one point, he goes, it sounds like it was learned for a speech 101 class in high school. At one point he goes, drive time from my house to my parents' house was roughly 6.5 to 7 hours. So it's kind of unrealistic. And so it's like, did you just use the phrase kinda unrealistic when talking whether you beat your parents to death with a baseball bat? It's a little strange. And then, so we're going to go over his plan that he came up with to get away with killing his parents, and it's not bad. He almost pulled it off. A few things went wrong. We'll go over it, but so he's confident in his story. He's in there. He's like, you're going to find phone records that say I'm here, and you're going to find a credit card record here, and I was at my house, and he has this confidence. But there's not really any way, even if your story's really rehearsed and you got it down pat, you're using meaningful gestures, you got the whole thing learned, it's a good plan. Without an alibi, it just keeps coming back to that. And his way of, like at one point he's talking about how he just doesn't have an alibi. And he goes, we've all talked in my family and everybody understands my alibi isn't real strong. And it's like, it's just something funny about that. It's like, I know I don't have an alibi when it comes to my parents' brutal murder, but we have talked about it with my family as if that's something, like we did talk about it. It's all right. Everybody understands my alibi isn't real strong. And by isn't real strong, he just means he doesn't have one. He came up with a pretty decent plan to throw investigators off, to make things look like this. But without an alibi, it's going to be hard to tell two homicide investigators that you can be ruled out. Don't worry, you can rule me out. I got a story that I have down pat. No alibi, but my family talked about it. Don't worry, we've talked about it, and everybody understands. So, yeah, if you could just eliminate me as a suspect. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Let's go all the way back. Why would Ernie do that? It actually doesn't take too long to tell the story. I got to say, I'm a sucker for end-of-the-road gambling stories. It's a genre that the stories take on a tone that I really don't see in any other types of genres. For example, there was a story I got into in 2018 where a 50-something-year-old woman looked really sweet. The papers would dub her as Gambling Grandma. So Gambling Grandma, they think was maybe confronted by her husband. Like, you got to stop gambling. It's too much. This. She shoots her husband, kills him, covers him with a blanket, and hits the road. And now she's driving around. She's on the run. She's stopping at casinos all over the country, winning money, by the way. They followed how she was doing. She's on the road winning money. She's running out of options. The heat is building up. And then at a casino or a bar, one of the places, she meets this woman that looks like her. They have the same build, same hair, same features, and there's security camera footage of gambling grandma and this new look-alike hanging out together. They're drinking, they're having fun. Then they head back to gambling grandma's hotel room, and gambling grandma shoots the new friend, covers her with a blanket. Sleep tight. It's the gambling grandma. So then she takes the look-alike's ID and $5,000 from her credit card and hits the road again. She's winning money. She's out there as this look-alike. She's finally caught. I mean, wild story. Then there's another end of the road gambling story that it's like not even, a lot of them, not even anyone dies or anything. But Louis Theroux did a BBC program years ago, probably more than 10 years ago, where he followed a couple groups in Vegas, like two friends and this high roller. And the high roller was, I think they described him as owning the biggest mattress company in Canada. Maybe it was like the biggest mattress warehouse in a part of Canada, but I remember it as the biggest mattress empire, the mattress king of Canada. So this guy has a lot of money, and he had a severe gambling addiction. And so he's one of those high rollers that he shows up to Vegas, they pick him up in a limo, they bring him to the casino. He gets the nicest room. It's like the presidential suite. It's beyond huge. There's a grand piano. There's a butler. There's a cook. I'm not much of a gambler, and I always thought if I got that room, I'd just probably sit in the room. They'd be like, "So are you we gave you a free room. Are you gonna go out and gamble? The whole reason you got this room is because you lose like $100,000 every time you're in town." And just be like, "Nah, I don't really feel like it. I think I'm just gonna have another cheeseburger. Hey chef, cheeseburger." And I'm probably just gonna sit in and watch TV all afternoon. But thank you for the room. So nice. But so this guy, the mattress king of Canada, they bring him in on a limo. Louis hanging out like, "Man, this is a really nice room." And the guy's just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't spend any time in the room. And because he's a high roller and spends so much money, he doesn't want to be out in the casino with everybody else in the party, which almost makes it just lonelier and sadder. And this guy goes into a private room with just him and the dealer just takes his money, just thousands of dollars. The dealer takes it. Another one. And he's just sitting there, the mattress king, smoking cigarettes with a cocktail. And Louis going, "Are you having fun? What is this?" And then he'll just go to slot machines and just put hundreds of dollars in. It's just gone forever. And they think during that weekend where Louis Theroux followed him, he maybe lost like $250,000 just in that one weekend. And that was like a normal weekend for him. So I've been following that guy for years since that aired through Reddit. People do updates on him, the whole thing. And last time I checked, the mattress king of Canada, who had a family. One part during the program, Louis asked him what his wife feels about his gambling addiction, and he kind of laughed and said she does not like it. But he had a family, he had this mattress empire, and the last I checked, it was all gone. He lost it all, lost his family, lost the mattress empire, all the money's gone, and the man, as he's getting on in age, drives an Uber. I mean, is that not just a sad, dark story? Guy should be floating on a boat somewhere, enjoying his retirement, and instead, he's probably driving a grumpy dude to the airport early in the morning. "Hey man, you missed the turn. What are you doing?" It's like, "Sorry, I'm tired and miserable." But let's talk about Ernie Shear. Again, it's just a wild genre, the down and out gambling. So, kind of in the way of Chandler Halderson or a Gran Amato, Ernie Shear really got himself into some financial trouble. All right, so first I think it's important to say Ernie's parents, his mom is a devout Mormon, and that shaped their childhood. The sister was talking about it. The mom was very strict, as Mormon parents can be, wanted them to really succeed. They're a good-looking family, which I grew up in Grand Junction, Colorado. There's a lot of Mormons in Grand Junction. They all are kind of good-looking. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but same thing. Ernie is tall and blonde and blue eyes, really good-looking guy. And he got a degree in economics. Everybody in his family, his wife, they got the son. Everybody thought he was going to go into business. His father, he had rich parents. His father made a fortune in real estate. So everybody thought, all right, he's going to do something in business. He'll do something in real estate. And then all of a sudden, Ernie Shear told everybody, I want to make it work being a professional poker player. I think I could do it. I think this could work. I've been having some successes. And by far, the person that was most against it was his mother, the devout Mormon. Ernie's sister said, the quote she said is, you can't be a professional poker player. You might as well be a, quote, professional nose picker. And Ernie and his mom had some real butting of the heads, and his mom severed the relationship. She said, you're going to be a professional gambler. We are not going to have a relationship. And Ernie said, okay. And so that relationship was done. His dad and him still had a relationship. The dad doesn't sound like a devout Mormon. They never said anything about it, but the dad was a bit of a gambler too. A lot of times when we see parents get murdered, like the Haldersons or the Amatos, it comes out, it's like, who could have done it? They didn't have an enemy in the world. Chandler Halderson's, a lawyer, said they went through Halderson's parents' text message from way back, and it was like they didn't have one negative thing to say about anything or anybody, just truly beautiful parents. Well, this one, I think they were great people, but Ernie Shearer's dad, who is also Ernie Shearer, Ernest, we'll call him, he did have some enemies. He was on a school board and was always the one to kind of challenge things. No one liked him on the school board. I couldn't find anything whether he was in the right or the school board was in the right, but they really didn't like him on the school board, and at one point recalled him, and he felt really betrayed because of that, held the grudge for, they said, like 20 years, and a day or two before Ernie, the son, killed them, he had a meeting with the mayor to tell the mayor that he thought there was all this corruption in the school board. So whether Ernie planned that or not, that was kind of the first thing when they were investigating it. Like, did he make someone mad? I mean, he had this meeting with the mayor. He's going to do corruption. So the timing, again, Ernie almost got away with it, and I think some of that had something to do with it. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. At the time, Ernie's playing cards, and he has a good year as a professional poker player. I think he made between like $100,000 and $300,000, maybe even $350,000 I saw, but a good year, a good enough year where his dad decided to loan his son, and they have a small child. He's got the wife. They decided to loan him $616,000 so they could buy their dream house. Well, I don't think that Ernie's young wife worked. He's a professional poker player. The deal they had with the loan is it's a 5-year loan, and they have to pay the parents, who, remember, the mom and Ernie aren't even talking because she doesn't want to be a part of the gambling. She wants no part of it. And so they're not even talking. She doesn't want to loan Ernie the money. She doesn't want to support the gambling. She's saying anything we do that support it, it's going to end bad. But the dad, I think, feels for his son, feels for the young family, probably thinks they're not going to get a loan from a bank. They got to get into a house. He had a good year playing professional poker. Maybe this is going to work. So they loan him the $616,000. Totally crazy. It's so much money. But the deal was 5 years, and they would pay the parents $3,850 a month. That is just suicide. And I don't think the young wife is working, so I feel like the whole pressure to come up with the $38.50 a month was on Ernie Shear. The mom and him had gone back and forth so much, he probably doesn't want to say, listen, I'm not doing well. I had that good year, but I'm tanking this year. The losses have been building. At the time the whole thing went down, they found that he had 90 grand in gambling debt, another 40 grand in credit card debt. Remember, you got to come up with $38.50 every single month to pay the parents. The mom, her half of the parent side, isn't even talking to you and thinks it was a terrible idea that you went into gambling. Now she's right. So to come forward and say, I don't have the money, you guys, I am blowing it. This isn't working being a professional gambler. He probably didn't feel like he could say that, because then his mom would say, I told you. Right at this, also the same time, it's 2007, 2008. The housing market in the United States is in the absolute toilet. That's when your pal Scotty Boy, I was working for a mortgage servicing company in Denver at the time, so I was in the industry. So they put even more pressure on Ernie. We need our loan back. We're having a little bit of trouble in our real estate empire. And that's when Ernie, all of that compounded, that's when Ernie, I guess, decided that he was going to kill his parents. He tried to buy a gun the day before it happened. He had a friend in Nevada. They went to a gun store to buy one. The gun store employee just felt weird about the whole thing, turned him down, get out of here. So then at that point, he couldn't get a gun. And so I guess he switched it to a baseball bat at that point. But now I'm going to switch gears and we're going to go over the plan that Ernie came up with, how it went wrong, and then we'll end with back in the interrogation. So his plan was leave Vegas, leave the Vegas area, but he purposely got gas and went to McDonald's and used a card. So that's on record, and in the interrogation he makes sure to say that. He said, you'll find phone records and credit card records following me all the way to my house. And so he makes those purchases, puts it on record, then starts driving towards California. At a point, turns his cell phone off. It would be off for 17 hours. So he makes it look like he's going to his place, which is in Northern California. Instead, he goes to Southern California, where his parents live. Gets to their country club complex where they lived around, I got it exactly actually, 8:27 p.m. There was no forced entry, so we went in there, killed them, and then so he wants it to make it look like a burglary, which he failed miserably, because all he did is go around and push stuff over. And the detective said it was one of the main things. They go in there to investigate, and they've seen many real burglaries. And they said it looked like someone watched on TV what a burglary's supposed to look like, and then copied it, because nothing was taken. His dad was a bit of a gambler too, and had won $9 grand that day. And the $9 grand in $100 bills was in the jean pockets, and the jeans were flopped over a chair. And the detective says you could see the money from down the hall hanging out of the jeans pocket, and that wasn't taken. But that's, again, they're thinking his dad got into all this drama on the school board, and then also his dad won $9K that day. Did someone see his dad win that money at the casino and follow him home? Which, that type of story is happening a lot right now on the East Coast. I've seen 3 recently where someone has a big win in a casino and then someone follows them all the way home and home invades them. So they were thinking, was it because of that? And they're gathering the clues. But Ernie, so he gets there at 8:27 p.m. He's there for 4 hours, and he leaves they don't know that he left at 12:47 yet. That'll come in a second. But he leaves at 12:47 a.m. He drives a red Camaro convertible. And so think about it. A big chunk of his plan, because he turned his phone off, and the big chunk of his plan is, I bought the gas, I got McDonald's, I went to my place, He says he got in the interrogation. He says, I got to my place around 5:30. I turned my phone off because I was home. I went in, I turned the TV on. I was extremely tired. I fell asleep on the couch with the TV on. I woke up around 8 something, watched a movie, brushed my teeth, went to bed, got up at 5 a.m. and was at my grandfather's playing bridge at 7 a.m. So his attempt that he doesn't have an alibi was just, I was home, my phone was off for those 17 hours, I just was exhausted, I knew I had to get up and play bridge with my grandfather, but you'll find the purchases and you'll find the phone records up until I get to my house. And so the detectives are thinking, that's just too weird that there's no alibi. And remember, he's going, I've talked to my family about it. Everybody understands my alibi's not real strong. It's like, it doesn't exist. What do you mean it's not real strong? And so picture Ernie leaving his parents' place at 12:47 a.m. The longer that goes past, the more hours that go past before his cell phone turns back on, the more suspicious he looks, right? So you got to think, he left his parents 12:47 and he's in a red convertible Camaro, and you got to think, you got to get home, blast home fast enough where you can get home and immediately turn his cell phone on, making it look, he wanted it to look like he woke up in the morning to go and play bridge innocently with his grandfather. Oh, it's the morning, better turn my phone on. But it makes it look better for Ernie. He makes him look a lot more innocent the earlier that phone pops on, because if it's 8 hours from when his parents killed, then they're like, well, you had time to drive home. He wanted to make it look like there was no way he had time to drive home. So you got to think he was blasting in the red convertible Camaro, but you don't want to go too fast, because if you get pulled over and they go, where are you coming from? Even if he comes up with a lie, the next day they're going to find out that his parents were murdered, and he's blasting as fast as he can on the highway away from it. That would have looked horrible. And so I'm sure he was just towing that line of hauling, but you can't get pulled over. And I'm sure comes squealing into his place, and he turns the phone on at 6:36 a.m. And so in his eyes, he was saying, yeah, I was so tired. I watched a movie and I brushed my teeth. He says that he brushed his teeth like 4 times. He really thought that made the lie sound believable. Then I woke up, I brushed my teeth, and then I went to bed. And the interrogation goes on. They don't believe him. He doesn't have an alibi. The story seems so rehearsed. It's a crappy school project, but there's nothing that they can do, so that the interrogation ends. They tried to use the same tactic as Tammy in the Chris Watts, where they tried to give him an out as he's sticking with his story, sticking with the story. They say, like something like, don't get mad at me. And he's like, no, I won't, not at all. They're keeping it very, polite. He goes, don't get mad at me. I think you're hiding something. I think you're hiding something. I don't think necessarily you're hiding that you went over and killed your parents, making that sound like still like kind of absurd. We don't think that you're hiding, but we think that you're hiding something, that you went somewhere that you're not supposed to be. And that's a strategy that we've seen before. And you're just trying to get them to blow up their own story, right? They're sticking to their story. It's got problems, but it's not enough to arrest them. And then you give them that out. Like, did Shanann hurt those kids? Did she do it, Chris? Or he was saying, were you somewhere else? And then once, because their mind is racing, a million thoughts a second. What is the best strategy? What's the best way to go? And what you're trying to do is catch them in that everything's going too fast, and then they say, you know what, that's right, I am going with that, and then you blow up their story and you go from there. And he's saying no, and he just keeps it confident, and he makes it through. They stand up. Ernie had brought in a Taco Bell cup into the interrogation, so he shakes their hands and goes, hey, thanks for doing your guys' job too. And they like pat him on the back. The whole thing feels really bizarre, because they I think they know that he did it, and to have the whole thing patting him on the back, shaking hands, thanks for doing your guys' job, just feels bizarre. But a huge break a week after that interrogation. They know it's him. They know he doesn't have an alibi. They're trying to figure the dang thing out. They find a very blurry, but they find a security camera at the country club where his parents lived, pointed at the right area, and for the first time they have a red convertible. It's blurry and it's far away, but it's a red car. So they have, for the first time, the exact time that he pulled in, 8:27, and then 4 hours later at 12:47 a.m., the car pulling out. And like I said, a big part of this making the story look believable is not having too much time, because you could say, well, you have time to drive it. So he wanted to make it look like it was kind of unrealistic that he would drive it. I thought a cool thing the detectives did is they restaged it. They said, all right, we're going to leave that same spot at 12:47, that parking lot, and see how long it takes us to get all the way back to his house. And when we get all the way back to his house, we're going to turn on a fake phone and see what time it is. And get this, they pull out of there at the exact same time, drive the 390 miles. That's a long trip, trying to haul. It's in the middle of the night. I bet traffic was pretty low, to test the theory. And they pull into the place. All right, we would be able to turn on the phone right now and it would look like he was home. What time is it? And it was the exact same time as Ernie turned his phone on, 6:36. So after that, they got the new security camera footage. They have the new, the times are really starting to work out. He doesn't have an alibi. Ernie Shearer feels the walls closing in and he bolts. He tells his wife, sorry, babe, I need to grieve for my murdered parents. I'm hitting the road. And as his young wife and 3-year-old son sit there and sadly watch, he hits the road, and now he is just in a depraved, they follow him all around the nation. He's walking through casinos at all hours of the day and night, wearing sunglasses. Think about how dark that gets. It's 3 a.m. You're at some dingy casino in some town. There's dings and whistles and the haunting sounds of a casino, and you're just in there playing cards. You'd beat your parents to death with a baseball bat. End of the road gambling stories really do take on a tone that no other genre does. And so they're easily following him around the country because he's posting on Craigslist, trying to find women, and he's bizarre with these women. He met one long before. He even killed his parents, and she was saying, we went to K Jewelers to look at wedding rings. He was totally in. And then she said she bailed. She didn't know he had a family, but she bailed because all of a sudden his betting skyrocketed. He went from betting $75 on the crap table as an initial bet to betting $500. And she said she saw this guy really going down a dangerous road. So he's out there gambling, not winning, not like gambling grandma. He wasn't winning. His thing was he would post on Craigslist, and I kind of memorized his Craigslist ad. It would go, I'm 29 years old, I'm 6 feet tall, I love having fun. Whoa, you love having fun? Wow, you sound like a really interesting guy. He loves having fun. He said his perfect evening is a bottle of wine over a perfect meal. He's a good cook. He loves cooking with good food. The whole thing. So you post this same ad hundreds of times on Craigslist, going all over the country. They're watching him. Again, security camera footage. He's walking through. It's horrible. They're trying to put a case together. They don't feel like they have enough. It's just circumstantial evidence. They know he doesn't have an alibi, but all they really have is the blurry phone or the blurry camera footage of his car. They have that he doesn't have an alibi. They just need more. And the the detective has an interesting strategy. He tells the young wife, who now has been left to care for the toddler, about all of the Craigslist shenanigans, that he's cheating, that he's doing, and she turns into a scorned woman, and the detective says she turned into the third detective. She was all in, trying to bust him. They said, can we set up a fake phone call or a recorded phone call, and you act like it's, you haven't talked to him for a while, and you act like that you have seen the footage of the red car, but just pretend that it's way better than it is. So they set up this recorded phone call. She calls him. They haven't talked in months. She's acting like everything's okay. Like, where are you? And he's like, oh, I'm out on the road. I really am not hiding. And she's going, well, it kind of looks like you're hiding. Like, maybe you should come home. And he's going, no, I got to stay out here. And she's going, well, they have security camera footage of your car, and they can see the driver, and it looks like you, which, again, she's just bluffing the professional poker player. It looks like you, but you said that night you were driving home. Were you there? It looks like your car, and it looks like you. Were you there? And there's a long pause. And finally she goes, hello? And he goes, yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking, what else can you tell me about this footage? And just that long, guilty, I just crapped my pants pause that Ernie does. That was enough. They coupled that with all of the other circumstantial evidence, which still isn't the greatest case in the world. And they arrested him. About a year after it happened, he's been out on the road in casinos, meeting Craigslist women. Woo, I love to have fun. They arrest him. The law enforcement is putting on a brave face, confident face, like, we got a case, but they know it's not that good. And so the lead prosecutor is combing through photos of the crime scene, trying to come up with something that puts Ernie there, more than just the blurry camera, a murder weapon, something. And he sees a picture of a little bloody, he's going through the crime scene and he sees a picture of a little piece of paper. So he goes, what is that piece of paper? Goes in evidence, finds that piece of paper, and it's a warranty card for a Nike children's baseball bat. So they're going, okay, I think that could be the murder weapon. Why would a older couple have a children's baseball bat, let alone the warranty card for it, sitting on the floor, soaked in blood? That just seems bizarre. It's this new warranty card. And so they're thinking, all right, one place that we can definitely put Ernie is at that gas station McDonald's that he purposely to put records that, yeah, see, I was here, and then I was driving home, I was tired, I brushed my teeth. They put him at that area with the gas station and the McDonald's. So they go to that area, they're looking around, and it's like, hey, wait a second. There's a Nike outlet store. Another thing that I actually left out was there were Nike runner footprints all over the crime scene. That also, those look suspicious because they just walked back and forth to the victims and then the hall closet, but like perfect footprints in blood. And that's another thing that law enforcement is like, why would someone leave? It's too perfect, right? It was too rehearsed. It just didn't seem like someone, like a professional killer would come in, or someone that was planning to do it would come in and do it and then be dumb enough to leave perfect footprints. And the footprints were 2 sizes higher than Ernie. So that was a big part of Ernie's plan, right? To walk around with shoes that are 2 sizes higher. And then when they say, what size of shoe are you? He can go, I'm size 10. And they, in their head, go, oh crap, yeah, the blood prints are at size 12. But anyway, so they're at their wits' end. They find the little warranty card. So they go to the gas station, McDonald's, that area, and they go, a Nike outlet store. That's a little suspicious. So they go into the Nike outlet store. Remember, it's a year almost been a year at that point, but so they can't pull up any camera footage, but they're able to pull up a cash purchase that's pretty much the exact same time as the gas station and the McDonald's, where someone bought a children's baseball bat that would have that warranty card, a pair of gloves, and the Nike shoes in size 12 that left the bloody footprints. And so, like I said, they didn't have, even though they arrested him, they didn't like their case. That they felt like it made it a lot stronger. They were still nervous because there was no physical evidence. All they had was circumstantial evidence. They bring Ernie back in for another interrogation. There's only like 5 seconds of that one available online. But Ernie, for that one, his strategy is he's talking to him for a second and they leave the room, and then Ernie makes a call from the interrogation room. He's in there by himself, but he knows he's on camera, and so he's either fake talking to a friend or talking to a friend, acting like he's happy to be in there. He's going, yeah, this is actually great. After this, I'm never going to have to worry about this for the rest of my life. I'll be able to finally go on and live my life, because he's trying to take on the persona of, I've had to be out on the run. It's ruined my family. I didn't do this, but I've been the main suspect for years. So he's making a big show of being like, I just can't wait to be exonerated and have this out of my life. And then the trial starts, and he's making eyes at one of the female jurors, and she's making eyes back to him. So the prosecution's like, oh, after all of this woman has a crush on him. It seems like they're flirting. Is this gonna hurt us? And then the jury would leave for that day, and Ernie would laugh and mock the prosecutors, being like, she likes me, I got her, you guys are in trouble. Ernie told the prosecutor once, like in a confident voice, make sure I'm out by Christmas. So he was really trying to play it up. The jury didn't see it, and that he was convicted, and he's spending life in prison without the possibility of parole. Wild story. I'm going to cut it off there. Start watching the Johnny Depp trial. Probably in the next couple days, we'll do an update about that. But anyway, see you soon. Love y'all. Why? Stiven why? Shut